because I forgot some of them were gone today. Alright, this 4 looks like a negative 4, correct? Okay, so I have negative 4 times a positive 1, which is negative 4. What is negative 4 times negative 24?
Positive 78. 78.
Well, I know 4 times 4 ends in 16, so I know a 6 is my last digit.
76.
What? Somebody do it on a calculator.
What is it? What? I know
Is that 96? Is that what you got? Divide it by 2. 8. Yep. Let me tell you, I'm right. Okay.
96.
Did you get it?
I was just 20.
Alright, so now I need to go ahead and add those. So negative 2 plus or minus, what's 1 plus 97?
97.
I'm sorry, 96. I'm sorry, I was adding as I went. My bad. Do it now. Hold on.
Oh, it's the okay, that makes sense.
Hang on one second. Do it now. Right here? Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, the 2's from the step above. I'm looking for something real quick, just for a second. Should be 97 because that would be positive, right?
Yeah, I think.
Am I right?
Right.
Because negative times negative is positive, and then I'm going to add them. Okay. From here, I would take the square root of 97. Okay. And never mind,
What if there is no square root?
okay, wait, I got to go back. Go back up. Change that to B, 4BC, not 4AC. No, B squared, B squared, B squared. I knew I was coming off somewhere wrong. This right here is B squared. So that's the only thing. So we just have to change one number. No, not all that's wrong. Just changing one number. Yes, this is still 4AC. So instead of 1, I'm going to use 2 because that's my B. So 2 squared is 4. So we're just kind of changing that one little thing right there. Sorry about that. And what is 96 plus 4? 100. I knew I was having to come out with a perfect square. I knew I was wrong. So I apologize for that. Yes. Yes, but this one should come out to be a perfect square, and I'll tell you why I knew that in a minute. Okay? But yes, you're going to have some that's not going to be a perfect square. And right now, you can just leave it like that. Okay? So, like if it was 97 like we had a minute ago, you would just take it like that and leave it. Okay? And you don't have to reduce it any further. Okay? You can. How? Can you take a square root of 97 on your calculator? Yes. There's a square root button on your calculator. Hit square root. 97 equals, it's probably above your x squared. So you have to hit your second. It's what now?
9.84.
Okay, and I'm good right there. So 9.8 something. Well, then I can do the math. What's negative 2 plus 9.8 something? I can still do the math. See where I'm going with that, though? And we'll do one in a minute that we can do that with, okay? So from here, let's take the square root of 100. What is the square root of 100?
10.
So I have that. Everybody see what I did? I just pulled out the square root of 100. Now, from here, I have two problems. I have negative 2 plus 10 divided by 2, and I have negative 2 minus 10 over 2. Did everybody see now then how I broke out two problems? And I do the math. What's negative 2 plus 10? 8 over 2? What is 8 over 2? And what is negative 2 minus 10? Negative 12 over 2. And what's negative 12 over 2? Negative 6. It is the same numbers. And I did that when, that's why I knew it wasn't working out right. Okay? Because I knew I had to come out with those same numbers as what we worked in our, when we factored, when we did a table, or when we graphed, or when we used a quadratic formula. They're all going to come out to the same way. Okay? So any of the methods you use will come out to the same answer. So that's your answer. That's your solution. So x would equal 4 and negative 6. Okay? See, that's why I like math, because you can approach a problem 3 or 4 different ways. And as long as you're mathematically correct, it really doesn't matter. But I will tell you, some teachers only like it one certain way, and they'll tell you. So make sure you give it back to them that way. Honestly, when it comes down... Right, or don't show your work. But next year, yeah, next year they'll want you to show their way. Me, I'm okay. I mean, and in a bad way, it's kind of guess it's a bad thing, because I'm letting you be a little bit more flexible to change. As long as you're mathematically correct and you can justify your mathematical steps, I'm fine with it. So on the SOLs, do you think I really care how you do one of those problems? As long as you can mathematically justify your answer,
What do you mean by justify?
show me your work. Do it correctly. Do everything mathematically. You can't just come out and go, oh, I think x equals 2 and 12. Just because I thought those numbers out in my head.
Got it right.
Okay, that's not justifying your answer. Justifying your answer is showing the work.
Next year when the teacher has one and on the SOL test.
You know what? And they won't carry you on the SOL test either. They just want you to get the correct answer.
Does the SOL tell you how
Just sometimes on their test, though,
It asks you to do a certain way, and that's not their way.
unless on that, it may say use the quadratic formula to solve the following problem. Okay? Unless it's one of those you have to write out, they're not going to know how you did it. You see what I'm saying? So even, and sometimes they may say use the quadratic formula because they're kind of giving you a hint that this is going to be a harder problem to solve by graphing or by doing. So sometimes they may give you that as a helpful hint, but if you forget and get lost, you can still use the other method. Okay?
They aren't going to give us like a sheet that says all the formulas, are they?
They should, yes.
They will?
It's actually on
They'll have,
Yeah,
they'll
because
have-
it's not,
they'll have names on them.
yeah, you'll even get the quadratic formula. Yeah.
But like, that's the part I've been
At this
worrying
point,
about
at
is
this point, they're
formulas.
they're hoping you at least have a little bit of that knowledge. So, yeah, they're going to give it to you. All right, let's look at this one. Let's go 2x squared minus 2x minus 5. Now, we're going to solve this using the quadratic formula. So, I'm going to write it down correctly this time. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. That's your quadratic formula. Then I'm going to substitute in. What is b? Negative 2. So I need the opposite of negative 2, so that is positive 2. Now this one didn't tell me to use the opposite of b. It said to actually use b. So b was negative 2. So that's negative 2 squared minus 4. What's a? 2. And what's c? Negative 5. All over 2a, which was 2. Everybody good? That's all I did was substitute in. Very good. Now, let's go through. We got to start with this stuff under this radical first. So what is negative 2 squared? Positive 4. Now, what is negative 4 times 2? Negative 8. And what is negative 8 times negative 5? Positive 40. Now, if I want to go ahead and multiply this one out here at the bottom, I can, because he's not going to change anything. That way I don't lose my 2 times 2. And if you want to keep it 2 times 2, that's fine too. Alright? I'm just kind of jumping a step there. Yes, sir? No, because negative 2 times negative 2 is positive, correct? Or are you talking about the bottom? This one right here? No, this one says negative 2 times negative 2. And we know a negative times a negative is always positive. So that's why that's positive. Yes, ma'am? Wake up over there. Now I'm going to add 40 plus 4, which is 44. Now this one didn't come out perfect, right? So on your calculator, how do you find the square root of 44?
Second square root. Oh, crap.
Stop, before we even go any further. What 2 numbers is that between? What 2 whole numbers, if we took the square root, would that fall between? 6 times 6 is 36, right? That's the lower end, and then 49 is my upper one. So I know it's going to fall between 6 and 7 as my whole numbers, right? So it's going to be 6 point something. Okay? So we're just going to say 6.6 divided by 4. Now at this point I'm going to break off my 2 problems. I have 2 plus 6.6 divided by 4, and I have 2 minus 6.6 divided by 4. This gives me 8.6, which gives me what, 2.15? Somebody do the math, because I just may have. I know, it is 2.15.
2.15.
Oh, well, I'm sorry, 2.15, let's call it right now. And if I divide negative 4.6 by 4, I get negative 1.15. Okay. I'm sorry, yes, negative 1.15. Okay. And they may ask you to round that to the 10th place or the 100th place. Okay. And that would be, but that's your solution. So if you were to graph this on your calculator, slide back up here. If you were to graph this on your calculator, go ahead and graph it. Go into your y equals and graph. It's going to cross your x-axis, but it's not going to cross exactly on a whole number. So when you look at your table, okay, in your table, your x and y, you're probably going to have a point here of 2 and 3, and you might have a negative number here and then a positive number here. You might have negative, I don't know, I'm just going to say negative 1 and positive 1. So if you notice, though, I had to go through 0 to go from a negative to a positive, or a positive to a negative, right? Would you agree with that? Okay, so I can't find the exact point. I could use the trace button and maybe guess, okay? But that may be a good indicator then when it's not exact that I can use my quadratic formula. Okay? Now here's the thing. On SOL test, your choices are going to be, it'll say something like we'll say 2.2 and negative 1.2, and then that may give you some other weird numbers out there. Okay? 5 and 12, or so you're going to be kind of close. So at that point, you should be able to make an educated guess of why you chose 2.2 and negative 1.1 based upon either your table or by using your quadratic formula. Okay?
How is that round to 2.2?
If you round to 2 places, that 5 will make that 1 go up. So that would be a 2.2. And that would be negative 1.2 if I ask you to round to a 10th place. Okay. And it may not. You just have to read the directions on that to see whether you did that. All right, here's one I want you to work on very, very quickly. Oops, sorry. I jumped totally off there. I want you to do this one. 4x squared minus 24x plus 35.
Okay. It is a negative 24. The minus.
Yes. Yes, sir. Do what now? The negative b that's in front of your formula, like this, is really saying opposite of whatever b is. So that's like saying negative of negative 24. Well, what's a negative times a negative? Okay, what's the opposite of negative 24? Okay, so you can do either thing, okay? That really looks like negative 1 times b, okay? So I'm fine with that if you want to treat that as that negative 1b. You're just going to multiply whatever b was by negative 1, okay? So that's all. Now you're going to get some big numbers because we have a 35, a 24, and a 4. So if we multiply some of those, you know we're going to get a big number. Take about 30 seconds and finish this up, okay?
Are we ever gonna have yells again?
Not unless we have to.
I like that class. That was one of the most.
I do, but now that it's starting to get pretty, we'll go outside as much as we can. Doing sit-ups today and running the mile tomorrow.
What? Everybody? Tomorrow?
Yes.
It's early.
I'll hopefully be able to do mine next Tuesday.
Can you not give us like a day or like just oh man.
What are we doing?
You can do that all you want to today. Okay, sit-ups today. All right, what did we get? I'm going to stop right here. I'm not doing any more. What was your final answers, okay, Jackson? 5 and 1? Okay, 5 and 1 and 1 and 5 are the same. I mean, that's both of you had 5, both of you had 1. I'm thinking you should have got something else. What'd you get?
1,000.
Okay, yeah, no, never mind. Never mind. You already went too far. Okay, anybody else? All right, let's do it together. Yes, you got it wrong. Although, you were a little closer than Lakin. Let's put it that way. All right, so we have 24 plus or minus. What's negative 24 squared? It's the opposite of negative 4, so that would make that positive 24. 576 minus, what's 16 times 35? 560 divided by 8. So I'm going to do this, so I get 24 plus or minus 16 over 8. Is that correct? No, wait now. Help me out. Did you get this? Okay, somebody help me out. What is 576 minus 560? Whoa, 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 whoa. What is positive 576 minus 560?
14.
No.
14.
What?
14.
Okay, how many of you put this as a negative?
Me.
Why? What is negative 24 times negative 24? Positive 576. Now let me explain on those calculators. If you put in negative 24 squared, it's probably going to give you a negative number because you did not enclose it in parentheses. So what it took it as, when you did this and hit your little x squared button, it only squared the 24. So it treats that negative because you didn't put this in parentheses to say, hey, this groups together. That treated this as negative 1 times 24 squared. So there's a set of parentheses above your 8 and 9, I think it is. See those parentheses there? But do you even need to put parentheses? Because you should know a negative times a negative is always positive. So from here, what's the square root of 16? So now 24 plus 4 and 24 minus 4. What's 24 plus 4?
28.
And 28 over 8.
You can only reduce
3 point what? What's the, if you divide it, what'd you get? 24, 3.5. And 20 divided by 8. 2.5, so what's my two answers? Okay? That's okay. Alright, now, let me explain. You know how when we first started graphing, I told you the axis of symmetry, how to find your vertex, how to find your y-intercept, some little shortcuts like that? Okay, this was your quadratic equation. You don't have to write it again if you don't want to, but this right here is called your discriminant. Okay? Only b squared minus 4ac. And he's going to tell you a lot of information. Well, he's going to tell you some information, not a lot. Yes. Because you're going to actually, and they're going to say, find the discriminant. So at that point, you're going to know what, one, you're going to know what the discriminant was, and two, what he's going to tell you. Okay? So sometimes, yes, they will say, find the discriminant.
So it means just use that part?
They just only that little part.
Okay.
Now, you're still going to use your a, b, and c. You're going to still plug in from your equation. Okay? Like we had the, what was it a minute ago, x squared. What was our last problem? We just, no, 4x squared minus. Okay, so you're still going to plug in this. You're not going to worry about the square root. So you've got the negative 24 squared minus 4 times 35. You're going to do the math. and what did we come up with, 16 after we got done? And we did that math, right? I think it was 576 minus 560. Now, here's the thing, this right here. Okay? If this is a negative number, so I want to branch off. Negative, can you ever have a negative under the square root? Can any number times itself ever give you negative? No. Okay, so this tells me if you have a negative discriminant, you have no solution, no real solution. I don't want to use the word real. Real means I'm going to use real numbers. Numbers that you're dealing with right now. It can be fractions, it can be, whole numbers, it can be integer, integers, because it can come out as a negative 4 times negative 4. Okay? But no real number, if that's negative. If it becomes 0, when I subtract those two, I get 0. I have one solution. If it is positive, I have two solutions. Okay? And we're going to look at one real quick.
So what is
16, which is positive, tells me I have what? I have two solutions. And when we did that problem a minute ago, how many solutions did I come up with? 2. I had a 3.5 and a 2.5. Okay? So let's look at one. We're going to look at the discriminant first, just to see, and then we're going to actually work it to see from there what we get. Okay? Let's go with this one. So if you want to, just very quickly, over to the side, go b squared minus 4ac. And fill that out and tell me if we're going to have, if it's a positive, negative, or a 0, and then tell me how many solutions you have. So you're going to substitute in and solve it. Then you're going to tell me how many solutions I actually have to this problem. And then we're going to work it. What'd you get? 0. So how many solutions am I going to have? I'm going to have one real solution in our problem. So now let's go back and work it. So we're going to go negative b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Now watch, I've already got this part done, right? So I'm going to substitute that in right here. So the opposite of b is positive 30, so I'm going to get rid of that negative that I just wrote. So that's 30 plus or minus the square root of 0 over 2 times a. So see, I've already done that part. See how I just fit that in?
So why is it 30?
No, wait. Positive 30 here? Because this says the opposite of whatever b was. What is b? So the opposite of negative 30 is positive 30. It's a 9. It doesn't look like it though. It looks like an A with a long tail, but it's really a 9. So what's the square root of 0? 0. And if I add or subtract 0 to anything, does it change anything? No. So this basically vanishes, and I get 30 over 18. What?
I got it before.
15 over 9.
Which is 1. It can reduce more, but
Oh, yeah.
1.6. He was reducing a fraction because he doesn't have the calculator.
I know. Look at me.
And so I can only have one possible solution, correct? There's no plus or minus in this problem because the square root of 0 kind of disappeared. Okay? So that's why that discriminant kind of tells you whether there's one solution, two solutions, or one solution, two solutions, or no solutions. Probably not. But with homework, you should be able to get both of these now. I'm serious. Tonight when you do it, you need to write that formula for everything. The more you repeat it, the more you're going to remember it. Okay? All right. Here's our homework.